They just come. These games come so fast and furious. I mean, we're in here a minute ago after Colorado State, and now we're on to the next one, and you know it's a tough team to prepare for in a short period of time. And you know, I thought they looked terrific in their last game against New Mexico, and we know that a road game in the Mountain West against a team that's running their stuff as good as anybody in the country, it's going to be tough.
What you know, when a lot of people talk about the league being better this year, it's teams like Air Force and San Jose and stuff that have made big improvements. Well, what is it about what Air Force is doing that's improved this year?
Well, you know, Joe knows what he's doing, and you know, it just takes time to get your whole system in place, and it's in place now, and they're clicking with it. You know, they've had, like I said, that last game they played, they looked terrific.
This place at Air Force is a little different as far as I'm talking about venues than some of the other ones in the league, but it's equally as challenging. So what's the toughest thing about playing there?
Well, it presents its own challenge, you know. Every place has its different things that you have to deal with. I mean, you know, first of all, you got altitude. You got a team that is maybe, I think, the third tempo-wise. They're bottom, you know, they're one of the slowest teams in the country, and they make you guard. And so they have a system that they stick with, and they know their system, and they can do it at breakneck speed, and that makes it tough.
After Colorado State game, Marcus was out there shooting, and he was kind of hard on himself last week too. So, and he's in the top 10 in a lot of different categories in the league. So how would you assess how he's been playing, even though he's been kind of hard on himself?
Boy, I thought, you know, especially when you go back and watch the film, I thought he was a terrific point guard in that second half. And, you know, that he's such a perfectionist that he wants to do everything he's ever done at the highest level. Well, it's hard to get a bunch of assists if you're shooting every time. It's hard to get, you know, it's hard to get all the shots that you need or know you can make if you're making everybody better. And so he is doing both, but that's always a fine line. And it's, you know, he has to just be at peace with it to be able to make the right decisions for the team. And I think he's doing a great job of that. That second half, he played the way he managed the game and was just in complete control, hit big shots when we needed a big shot. Just, he was the consummate point guard in that second half, and that's why we were so efficient.
You mentioned that it can be tough for opposing teams to try and figure out how to guard Naj and Tyson, because they're like, well, which one's the center? They don't really, can't figure it. How do you guys use those two in some ways to confuse other teams and to make it tougher on them?
We just, you know, Coach Jury does an amazing job with what can work for us. What, you know, we got a big playbook, but we don't bring the whole thing to every game. We kind of figure out what maybe will be the best and where the mismatches are, where our advantages are, but you know, that being said, like, you know, we've got so limited time. You know, it's not like football where you have a week to put in a whole new game plan for each team. You better have your base things that you do well, and then you have little tweaks that can make a difference.
Against Fresno State and a little bit against Colorado State as well, the team struggled to get out of the full court press. What are some of the keys to breaking that?
No, we didn't in the second half.
Okay.
We've got it figured out.
The bench has been a storyline, you know, just trying to get more production from them and how they've played it. This is the middle of a 3 games and 7 day stretch. You're playing at altitude. You got another game Friday. I mean, is the bench going to be needed tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, right? That's something I've always been committed to, and you know, we got a lot of guys that didn't play Saturday that can maybe, that we need help. You know, this group, we're best when we're able to do that, and you know, each game's different, and I think that's going to be the case as we go down the stretch. That, you know, it might be different guys, different nights, and because each guy has different strengths too that they can bring to this team. So, you know, that's a challenge as a coach, because you want to be able to have some, and we probably have some consistency with our top 7, and then, you know, or as far as the guard rotation, that kind of thing, a little bit consistent, but the big thing might change night to night.
Yeah, with we asked you about Burke Smith after the game.
Yeah.
Was that more of a reflection of what he was doing or what other guys weren't doing?
No, it was, he's been doing good stuff, and I've seen really good stuff in practice. And out of the three, he's had the least chance. Again, it's not like I'm gifting anything or just, hey, let's give this guy a chance, because we haven't. It's what he earned, and you know, some, like I said, matchups and different styles are going to be a way that we look at it night to night.
He wasn't afraid to let the three fly. I mean, I know he's a
Oh
shooter.
boy, yeah. That's what I like, though. I want guys aggressive, and you know, and then, I mean, we've seen that. You know, we saw that with Kobe a little bit, and I think that's how they learn. That's how they learn. Well, okay, this one was out of context, in context. This was a good shot, bad shot. Without, you know, I don't want our guys ever looking over at the bench. I want them playing with confidence and let it rip. And when they're young, they maybe don't have as good a feel for that, and they start. But that's how they learn it.
Jay said, go ahead.
Max for the last, 3 weeks has just had some crazy scoring numbers in the first half, and then the second half it seems like he understands, like, okay, maybe the team doesn't need me to score as much. Well, why do you think that he's kind of had those outbursts in the first half? Is it just?
No, I think he has a good feel of does what the team needs him to do.
Yeah.
You know, and whether, you know, and then sometimes we've had a lead, so it doesn't mean now you want to jack a lot of threes, maybe, you know, and different lineups. Okay, he looks out there and he maybe needs to be pick up the scoring a little bit if you got some guys out. But so that's always been his strength is he'll do whatever the team needs, and whether it's assists or whether it's getting in the lane, whether it's threes, he'll just do that. And so I think that's a big part of it. And then sometimes, you know, when he has those big first halves, well, then they just, you know, go nose to nose with him, and he'll create space for guys, which that makes it tough on the defense.
At what point in his basketball life did you realize that he was capable of kind of just doing whatever the team needs? I mean, that's a mature thing. Most kids don't pick up on.
Just because he every team he'd play on would win, and he'd be in all different roles and different, you know, with that Washington Supreme team, they were struggling finding a point, and so they just moved him to the point, and then they won like 15 straight games in over 3 weeks. And I was like, wow, you know, at that level, because that was, you know, that circuit was a pretty high level, and I was like, I think that was an indicator of like, wow, he can do whatever a team needs and makes them better, because they had a lot of good scoring wings, Eric Stevenson, Emmett Matthews, all those guys. So where they needed help was somebody that could move the ball and help them, and, you know, get easy shots, and that was a pretty good indicator.
Jace had some really good passes on Saturday. He had one to Naj that, like you had talked about, would have been an assist, but he got fouled. You talked about him being a great shooter, but where is he kind of grown with the other stuff of playing guard, passing, and even defense?
The great thing about Jace is when you give him something and talk about something, teach him something, he can go out and translate. And I think watching Shave, he's picking up things, and so he's a quick learner, you know, especially because no basketball for 2 years. So some of the stuff that he already was good at, he's kind of just got to shake some rust off. And I think he's done a terrific job of that.
Tyson in the last 4 games is averaging 19.5 points, shooting like 68%. When you compare him to earlier in the season, when he was adjusting to kind of playing the 5 into last year, how much better is he this year?
I think it's just been a steady climb. I mean, it seems like he gets better every day at practice, gets better, you know, and then I think you've seen that a lot with all of our guys this year. You know, including the seniors. Marcus has gotten better at being a point guard, and, you know, Buzos has gotten a ton better since the start of the year, and Max has gotten a lot better, and Najee's got, I mean, you go through all 5 starters, and I think it's part of it is the synergy they have together, and part of it is these guys work. they get in there and they like to be in the gym and they like to play together, and now they're all kind of clicking together that way.
You mentioned the 3 games in 7 days. The new TV contract the last couple of years added, Friday night games, some Monday games, Sunday, and it kind of leads to this where you play 2 days, play 2 days. I mean, I guess it's good for the league money-wise and exposure-wise, but it does create some interesting stretches like this, I guess.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, as a coach, you're like, oh boy, I wish this was this date, and it's never going to be perfect. You just got to play them when they come, and you got to find a way to get ready, and you got to, it's never going to be perfect. You're like, oh, I wish we had one more day, and then I wish this game was one more day back, and then, but it's not. So you just got to deal with it, and sometimes you get lucky with the schedule, sometimes you get unlucky. It probably over the course of a career, maybe not in 1 year, like for example, the 18 games that our league plays. Well, sometimes you get to play the right people at the right time, and sometimes you don't. You're like, oh my goodness, we have to play these guys now when they're playing great, and those guys got to play them when this guy was hurt, and all that stuff is a factor. It really is. It's not who you play, it's when you play them, but you have no control over it. So you just kind of, whatever the card is flipped, you got to play it. And our guys handle that really, really well, and doesn't make it easy because, like I said, playing Air Force on this short of a turnaround is tough.
You talked a lot about just the last 2 years, the success has been a lot of just one game at a time, blocking everything out, not worrying about the next game. Fans, media, whoever might look at this and call it a trap game.
No, that we don't even know who we play next after this. We got one mission right now. That's it.
What is it about the guys that have allowed them to, the last 2 years, stay focused on this game and not know what's ahead and worry about? I mean, why do you think that's been so effective?
I think our
for you?
staff does a great job with that, and then the maturity of the players we have. And I mean, if you had guys that hadn't been through you're going to fight human nature on things, but you got to fight it. And the maturity of these guys that have, they've been to these places, they've played in these games, they know that I'm not just making up stories about, well, this is a hard place, and this is a hard system to play against, and this is a good team. They're not dumb that way. They're like, wow, yeah, we know. So that's the message, and that's what these guys have done a great job with.
Back to Marcus for a second, if you don't mind. You seem to have a knack for challenging guys and getting them to respond. So are you allowed to tell us where you're challenging Marcus right now?
Nope. That's a good question, though. Yeah, a lot of stuff that we do, especially the one-on-one stuff with guys, I like to keep a lot of it private because,
Helps the game playing, it seems.
yeah, right, absolutely. But he's been amazing. Maybe after the year we'll share some of the interesting things. But like I said, I was so impressed with him in that second half, and I mean, it was funny because the announcer was talking about it. He picked up on some of the things Marcus is doing as a point guard that stand out. And when I was watching the film, I was like, oh yeah, he nailed that. That was what Marcus is getting better at. All right, we good?